Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, just a couple of comments. The issue before us is a write-off motion. Write-off. Never before, in my 17 to 18 years in this honorable house, and I have never, ever, ever missed a Senate meeting, was there a write-off motion of this kind. That doesn't mean that there are not a lot of people who abandoned their bonds and did not return and all of that sort of thing. It just was never brought as a write-off motion. The Cabinet of Belize and the government of Belize is advised by the Attorney General's Ministry. That is the legal advisor to the Cabinet. Individual views on statute of limitations vary, but when the Attorney General's Ministry says to the Cabinet of Belize, the statute of limitation has run out, we are guided by that. So all ministers and all senators on this side, whether we like it or not, are guided by the advice of the Attorney General. The reason you don't see the Financial Secretary's name on this one, and this is for Senator Bennett, is because it is not an asset write-off. The others that will follow on the one that came before is an asset write-off for which he is in charge. This is not an asset write-off. As I said, it's never come before. It's amazing that somebody dug it up and brought it, but it never come before. The bonds. My colleague, the Honorable Leader on the other side, Senator Shabat, said that poor people now get these bonds, only ministers' sons. I wish I knew that, because then I could have perhaps secured one for my son. But we're paying for him. But I wanted to share with him, and I'm doing this with the due acquiescence and respect of the colleagues. There's a gentleman by the name of Roman Torres of 108 Cooperative Avenue, Roaring Creek Village, employee of the Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Forestry, the Environment, Sustainable Development, Immigration. He's a student. He has a bond for $54,365. He's gone to study. Hopefully he comes back. He's bonded for 4 years. There's a good hydrological officer. He's just back. Mr. Victor Pasquale was bonded for an even larger amount. And many, many others in the ministry, because people go on study leave. And when they come back, they never have to pay back that money. It's not like you're going to pay back the money. Government pays you your 80% salary. Come back and you work, you get paid. You know, they work for free, you get paid. And in many cases, there's a big challenge to take you to a higher pay scale. But they go to the higher pay scale because they have additional training and additional education. Something my wife, when she taught, lamented, that with a master's degree, she's still at the level of people with 6 farms. And a lot of people who come back, I don't want to dig into the history. My colleague next to me, Dr. Barnett, suffered from that. Back in the 60s, and well, it's not 60s, but the 70s, when people like me were coming back. I could call names, a lot of my colleagues who came back as attorneys, and some of them are very prominent in the opposition too. Never wanted to work for the government because the pay was too small. And they were bonded, so they tried to make some sort of arrangement. I even know of a character whose name I will not call, that the government relieved his bond because the government couldn't find a job for him because what he studied was not applicable. And they put him in Ministry of Health, and his argument was, me, even afraid for blood. So I'm not going to no Ministry of Health, and I know nothing about health. And there was a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And he was represented by my honorable, now departed friend, one of the great legal minds of this country, Mr. Lindo, PhD. And yeah, you don't know that, very well trained. So this is not new. My point is, this particular student, when he comes back, hopefully he comes back to the ministry. I look forward to seeing him. He's studying He's studying agricultural management, whatever that means. I think he'll manage a farm. So, bonds are not only to ministers, son. There are lots of bonds across the way. Lots of people in this country go to study, and they're always paid. This is what the government does. The pay scale, and my colleague, Senator Dr. Zabani talked about the opportunity cost. Generally, when you see the bond, it is relative to the pay scale, and government pay scales are low. If you're on pay scale 14 or 15, you get a lot of money. Hard for work for government, you know. Senator Lizaraga and you guys could tell you in the private sector what you could do in a month, you're making government in a year if you're lucky. Hard for work for government, but it's a moral, it's a social thing, it's something you do. And the funny thing about working for the government, you know, is that when you're 55, Senator Bennett, just when you have all that experience and you're now able to contribute and you can get a pension and you can now say, well, no, I'll put all my expertise into serving my people, they retire you. That is the anomaly, they retire you. So your expertise going to the private sector. What is even worse is a lot of these people, after they are trained, they migrate. You know, there was a time when the United States picked off half of the teachers out of Belize and the nurses that we paid for. We paid for in this country from primary school right up. They never put $1 to it. They picked them off. Bam! Offer them some great salaries and so on. They Gaia to help develop the greatest nation on the earth and left Belize high and dry. But we paid for them. Some of them just barely made out the bond requirement to be here 2 or 3 years. All of that is a problem for us. So we have a magnitude of problems. Good senator knows that in the nursing profession. A lot went. Because the United States saying, grab your brain drain. Then they become the superpower and talk about how your country backward and this and that. But we paid for the foundation, you know. Some people think it's only that 2 years you spend at university. It's a foundation here to learn to read and write and study. And the nation is paying and paying, especially now that education is being paid for across the board. High school is now the 4 years, right, Senator? Imagine that. Then they go in a 6th form and I get 2 years too. And then they go in a university and they come back. So shame on this gentleman for not coming back. I say that without any apology. Shame on him for not coming back. He should have come back. But the issue for us here today is whether we take it off the books, and the Auditor General will tell you yes. You can't have it languishing on the books. Whether it's to be collected, whether he has a moral responsibility, whether he should step up to the plate and all the rest is issue number 2. And we would say yes. But these people say take it off the books. We go to the Committee of the House. And yes, Senator Lizaraga talked about a letter from former Senator Audrey Matura, who I'm sure knows the process. And he called out the names of all the people to whom the letter was sent. I didn't hear him call the chairman of the committee. Chairman of the committee is the Honorable John Saldiva. But normally, you can write into the committee, you write in through the clerk, and the clerk has a responsibility to put it before the committee. The clerk has advised me the letter arrived late. But let her aside. The minutes of the meeting of the Finance and Economic Development Committee held in the committee room of the National Assembly building to consider the write-off motion number 2, Joshua Perdomo that is, referred by the House of Representatives on the 16th of August, 2019. Meeting was held on the 27th of August. The members present was the Honorable John Saldiva, the chairman, the Honorable Hugo Pott, Honorable Edmund Castro, Honorable Elodie Aragon Jr., and the Honorable Karim Musa. The member absent was the Honorable Francis Fonseca. Also present at the meeting was Mr. Joseph Waite, Financial Secretary in the Ministry of Finance. He was present at the committee meeting, man. So when they say, oh, the Financial Secretary wasn't, he was at the committee meeting. This is the official place where the House, when anything is introduced in the House and it's referred to a committee, the committee meets, there are publications of the date, members are expected to go, and people can make representations. The committee meeting was called to order at 2:13. The committee deliberated, listen to this, the committee deliberated and heard oral submissions from the following persons: Mr. Dwight Neal, Ms. Tanya Santos, Ms. Maria Contreras, and Mr. Paul Ferguson. Those persons made oral presentations to the committee. Paul Ferguson. There was no written submission as per the minutes. The Honorable Hugo Pat, seconded by the Honorable Elodio Aragon Jr., moved that the motion be returned to the House for adoption. There's no objection. The Honorable Hugo Pat, seconded by the Honorable Elodio Aragon, moved that the meeting be adjourned. The meeting adjourned at 2:44. This is in the record of the House. This is in the record of, well, it doesn't say any letter here. I just read the minutes because that's all I am guided by. Joe Waite was there. Other people made submissions. Honorable Karim Musa was there. There was no objection. I am only guided by what I have. It's the minutes of the House Committee meeting. Pastor Rock mentioned the issue of moral responsibility, and I fully support that. There's a moral responsibility. There's a moral responsibility on the parties concerned to ensure that they make good this at some time, now or in the future. Because it is not as though the government believes advanced monies that need to be paid back as such. Government believes advanced salary while you're studying, 80%. And the other side of that contract is, come back here, man, and contribute. And when you come back here to contribute, you're paid too. You know, they duck this out. So the Belizeans absorb that. They don't look for get it back. All they look for forget you back. And when you come back, you're paid, and sometimes at a higher scale than you left. And that is the sin that was committed. Man did not come back and did not contribute. Now he went to study forensic genetics. I don't know what on earth that is. I tried to research it, and there's a whole book written on the thing. So I don't know what that is. But whatever it is, it seems as a very high-level thing that could have contributed to Belize. I recall when, way back when, a colleague of mine went to study aerospace engineering. And when he returned to Belize, he said he couldn't find a job. Boy, how you want to find a job in aerospace engineering? When you got Cessna back then, so you can't find one job. So when you get those kinds of support, sometimes it's a little crazy. You know that a lot of people apply for scholarships, a lot of people. Some of the things are just, for a small country, you have to weigh the pros and cons, whether you will give people those scholarships. Yes, everybody have a right to study what they want, but man, when it's public money, you have to make sure that what they study, Mr. President, is applicable and useful. Because you cannot just send anybody to study anything and come up, boy, here I am, and I'm an aerospace engineer. The NASA not there. You know? So those are the kinds of things that we look at as well. And so, Mr. President, to close this debate, I just wanted to say, we're asked today to take the figures off the books which are languishing there. I am happy, despite the umpteen amount of people who didn't come back or who come back and spend a little bit of the time. And I said in 17 years, this didn't come back. You know, with this, it would have been very easy for the Prime Minister to say, look, I don't mess with this, you know. Election down here and so away. No mess with this. This is a perdomo, so this I make one hell of a political stink, but no, they bring this at all. And that would have been left right there, and nobody may bother about it, because they may know. And guess what happened? Even if the government changed the next time, by the time it comes up, it would have been ancient history. But they brought it to the forefront and make the chips fall where they are. We are asked today to write this off the books, not to forgive, to write it off the books. That's the motion that we have before us. Thank you, Mr. President.